Toydu couldn't look away from the devastating clip playing on a loop on television news, hundreds of Afghans running alongside a massive U.S. Air Force cargo plane, desperately trying to flee their home country. The frantic frowns felt so familiar, reminding her of images of refugees packed onto helicopters to escape Vietnam more than 4 decades earlier. So during the summer, Du, a doctor in her late 30s whose family left Vietnam when she was a girl and resettled in Seattle, sat down in her living room with her husband and talked about how they could help. "We just knew we had to do something," she said, reflecting on the initial shock of the Talib. "This is a time for us to give back." Many time zones away, past jagged mountain ranges in the vast Pacific Ocean, Abdul Mateen Qadiri settled into a corner inside Hamid Karzai International Airport, where he and his wife and their 4 children would spend 2 nights waiting anxiously for an evacuation flight. As soon as word had begun to spread of the Taliban entering Kabul, the nation's capital, Qadiri, who had worked alongside the U military as a mechanic, decided to flee as soon as possible. "It was life or death," said Qadiri, who is in his mid-40s. "We had to get out." In the weeks that followed, through a process shaped by generosity, coincidence and deep understanding, the paths of Du and Qadiri, whose journeys were separated by 30 years, intersected in the place they both now call home, the Pacific Northwest. The federal government, as U forces withdrew from Afghanistan, has evacuated about 83,000 people to the United States, with some transported to American military bases from Texas to New Jersey to await word about where they'd begin to build new lives. About 35,000 people remain at Department of Defense installations. But 36,000 have either proper legal paperwork or have been assisted by government-approved resettlement agencies and are now housed in communities across the country, according to the U. Department of Homeland Security. Additional evacuees are awaiting U-bound flights at military bases in the Middle East and Europe. To augment the effort, the Biden administration recently announced a pilot program allowing groups of at least 5 individuals, who must, among other things, pass strict federal background checks, to apply to become sponsor circles, helping Afghan refugees to resettle for at least 3 months.